That's everybody.
I want one of them. I want one of them.
Send greetings from you, our board of directors, our great staff, and the virtual public. Before we begin with the roll call and the adoption of today's agenda, I would like to formally introduce our new member, Director John Taylor. Mr. Taylor was appointed to the CAT board during the commission meeting on July 8th. Mr. Taylor, on behalf of this board of dynamic individuals, we welcome you to join us as we embody and push forward the mission of this agency. In the upcoming month, there'll be full board orientation that you'll be able to benefit from. You can reach out to me if you have any questions. We're looking forward to supporting you in your new role. Now, Mr. Taylor, you have anything you want to add?
Oh, well, I just want to tell everyone, thank you, and it's an honor to be a part of this board. Moving forward, whatever it is that I can assist anyone with, let me know. I have a background in maintenance, transportation, contracting, and supply chain manufacturing. Doesn't matter which committee I'm on, if I need anything, please let me know. And again, thank you for accepting me on the board. Like I said, I want to especially thank Commissioner Adams. I've been Commissioner Adams since 81, 82, something like that. I guess it's on our age. I want to thank him again. Thank everybody.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you and glad to have you. Now we open the meeting with the roll call.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Director Emerson.
Here.
Director Odell. Director Stone.
Present.
Director Lockett.
Here.
Director Adams. Thank you. Director Robinson.
Present.
Director Leggett.
Here.
Director Taylor.
Here.
And Chairman Cody.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum of today's meeting.
I'd like to take a motion in a second for today's agenda.
So
Yes, sir. Director Emerson.
Yes.
Director Odell. Director Stone.
yes.
Director Lockett.
Here.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Robinson.
Yes.
Director Leggett.
Yes.
Director Taylor.
Here.
And Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Motion passed, Chairman.
Next, we'd like to go to our presentation. We'd like to present our former board member and colleague, Dr. Michael Halloran, and appreciation. Director Halloran was appointed by the County Commission June 2017 to serve on the CAT Board of Directors as a 5-year term. Dr. Halloran served on the board from 2017 to 2022. He served as board vice chair from 2018 to 2019. And he served as board chairman from 2019 to 2020. So I present on behalf of the board our appreciation for your unwavering support, experience, knowledge, dedication, and presence. Your invaluable leadership helped us in guiding Chatham area transit path to success. We honor him today for his dedicated 5 years of service. We welcome him to stay and engage, as I know he would. This is his right. Very pleasant to see you. Thank you. And now we'll move into our consent action agenda. Motion of second.
Director Emerson.
Yes.
Director Odell. Director Stone.
Yes.
Director Lockett.
Yes.
Director Adams.
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett, Director Taylor,
Yes.
Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Motion passed, Chairman, for the approval of today's consent items.
Question, maybe it was something. Are we going to vote on the firm position which you're going against all the references, search firms? We are. That's what was in on that consent agenda. Okay, and I'm sorry, but I was trying to read this yesterday. And didn't have the best reception. I was out of town. So what is the recommendation? And I apologize, but I just want to make sure I understand.
What we did was we solicited quotes on our payment process, and the firm that was the successful firm was the same firm that's also doing our COO recruitment. Is that common?
It's not, it's not Benson Grove. It's
No, it's Rand Moss.
Okay. The only reason I bring that up, and it was a little bit fucking up where I was yesterday, maybe it's just a reception. But my experience was, I think it was KL2. I was not impressed with that firm, and I just wanted to make sure that put more historical.
It's the same firm that's doing our COO recruitment, and I will tell you our experience with them up to this point, we're short of this now in the COO position. They really promised client service portion of the process as well. So I think that if their previous experience and so forth with us,
And I assume no rating on these firms.
this was a quote process, so we went more based on price and their demonstrated qualifications and experience.
I'm sorry. I don't know. And not the right, very clearly, we know a lot of companies listed, but I didn't see where a decision had been made on what.
So, I'm sorry, which one we did not choose KL2? Correct.
No.
Okay.
just like I said, very excited to be moving forward with the master plan contract.
Yes.
Very cool. Already worked with them for a while, so that'll be very exciting.
It is, there was an excellent, we had 3 excellent shortlist interviews, and a very engaged selection committee. We got just some really exemplary, but theirs, their particular presentation, I think the term they got used to describe it, was flawless. It was just really quite something, so we're excited and we're getting started on that very important part of our work program. I know Director Stone was asking me some questions earlier about the current status of transit ridership. But for us, future services and all those kinds of things, so this is going to be our opportunity to review that.
That's exciting. Nelson and I are.
They have exemplary presentation.
All right. Yeah, we need to get moving.
Yeah.
I would just think an overall analysis of our routes is way of.
To an individual action item, we want to take a motion and a second.
What's on?
Georgia one, just let right
So Chairman and Directors, just to give you a bit of background on this, since this is an added item, this is really sort of an administrative function, but it's to add, we currently do not have, myself as the current Chief Executive Officer and the CFO as authorizing officials on what is a standard document for us. Really a matter of recognizing that there's been a change in those positions and those individuals need to be reflected on this document.
That's
Second.
So that hadn't been done before.
December of 21, the budget fund made it mandatory that everything would have to be done electronically. We had submitted the paperwork previously, however, it was in hard copy format. They notified us last week before that of the new process, that it had to be done electronically, and a resolution would have to be adopted by the board and submitted electronically. So this is a follow-up of that.
Yeah, I was just kind of surprised. it wasn't
Chairman, roll call vote. Director Emerson,
Yes.
Director Odell,
Yes.
Director Stone,
Yes.
Director Lockett,
Yes.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Motion passed, Chairman.
Thank you. We're going into our second report.
We are very pleased to offer the unit updates today, and of course, my report typically comes to you every Friday. Get a snapshot of overview of the major items that we're engaged in and are working on. Today, I'd also like to ask Ariel Johnson, who is our communications manager, to talk a little bit about some of the key communication strategies that we're working on. For those of you that are called recently, I know several of you, thank you again for attending the Savannah Downtown Business Association, much of where I presented about CAP. One of the things that we noticed while we were sitting in that meeting was that they do a drawing to give away things from various business interests that are there and are members, and we've just recently joined. And so we followed up after that meeting and said, CAP would like to be a part of that drawing. It's a great opportunity to get our brand out there with that business group as well. And so Ariel has just prepared a swag bag, a one-day pass, and some other good CAP things. And that next month's Downtown Business Association drawing will be a part of that. We'll start to do that once a quarter to keep our brand and our name and the conversations about us out there. We're also going to start to give you regular updates on the 35th birthday celebration that will be held in October. But we've got some really interesting ideas for scavenger hunt and some other exciting things to really celebrate CAP and engage the community during that month. And of course, one of the things, and we've already voted on this and we've mentioned it, I can't stress enough how important this master transit plan is going to be for us, along with the companion effort of the comprehensive operational analysis. That's really that route analysis work. But this really sets our vision based upon the mission, vision, and value statements that you adopted back at our board retreat a couple months ago. And it really establishes our business case for all the partnership opportunities out there about why partner, why invest in, and why be a part of the CAP family. So in addition to all the sort of technical piece of it that will be there, there's also that business case piece of it that I think is incredibly important. We're excited about getting that done, and I'm excited about serving as the project manager for that. So Ariel, you want to talk a little bit more about some of our communications efforts and work, and I know you've got drum roll, a mural competition to reveal. So let's talk with the board a little bit about that, and then we'll move into our.
Share my screen here. So as Mr. Desmo was just talking about the overall bigger projects that we're working on, we're also Matt and I, which is the marketing communications coordinator, we're also working on smaller projects as well to get through as well. So as you know, we've been working on the wellness wall art competition. The CAT art committee met last night, and we chose a group artist, not a group artist, but us as a group chosen artist. However, we just have a little things we would like to see more of. So this is the actual art piece that we're gonna go over. But we're just gonna ask the artists to kind of give us more color variations. Remove the word "it" on it and just have alive and kicking. And but we think that it definitely represents health. It definitely represents wellness. We're going to see if we can have the cat just a little more bigger on it. But this is the main piece that we're going to go with.
Ariel, could you share with the directors who all participated? We had, again, we've been trying to make sure that on these opportunities, just like we did with the master transit plan selection panel, we made sure to bring in a panel of folks both with expertise in this area, but also representing parts of the community that might not have worked with CAT in the past to bring them into the work effort that we do. So if you want to talk a little bit about the committee.
So we have Director Edmondson on the committee. We have Libby Pond, she works in HR here at CAT. We also have Courtney Johnson, who's an operator here at CAT, and we wanted to make sure CAT voices were heard because CAT employees will be going daily in the employee wellness center. And we also have Ms. Garnett Walker, who is with the Savannah Art Museum. If I'm wrong.
She does fun, it does like everything.
So half right, okay. So that's that. But and there was someone else, Miss Billy, but she could not make it yesterday. But however, once this artist brings back I don't want to say corrections, but the updated version, we'll have another final vote by this Friday at noon to make sure. And then we'll meet with the artist, we'll bring her down to the wellness so she can actually see it herself and go from there.
And we're going to be working on getting the materials donated for them to actually do the mural. And then the mural will be complete. And after that, Beverly is also working on wellness programming for the wellness center. And we'll be doing a grand reopening of the wellness center and hope to have everything in there from, in addition to sort of what you might think of traditional as exercise and those kinds of things. We want to try to offer things around yoga, meditation, nutrition, mental health awareness, all kinds of things that are all part of wellness. So we're very excited about what this is.
He was the only individual to have.
No, we had 5 altogether.
We just want to show you the one that said like that.
Yes, you had 5, right?
So we had 5, one was disqualified, but they didn't meet the requirements. So we went off on 4. We voted on 4.
And the other thing I would add is the artist who did submit that will be able to definitely be able to execute that project.
One more thing to give credit to, that's also, this effort was also underwritten from us by partners. They contributed $1,500 award that will be given to the selected artists as a part of this effort. So very exciting for the artists. And, I'm very excited for that.
So next we have CAT sessions, and the aim of CAT sessions is to show Chatham County and the city of Savannah that CAT is more than just a public transit service. That CAT is a lead and integral member and facilitator of Savannah community and culture. So within the CAT sessions, we'll have 3 phases. Phase 1 will be a CAT cast. It will be presented by CEO, the Massimo, and other community leaders as well. It's going to be a bi-monthly podcast of everything CAT and community, things that people in the community may not know of that CAT is doing. And we'll also have CAT sessions where we support local artists, whether that's poetry, whether that's music. Savannah is full of art, and CAT just really wants to be a part of that even more. So we might have a live band, not too many members, maybe a 3-set band, just come on a stationary CAT bus and perform. Or at the ITC, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Tiny Desk, but it might be like a Tiny Desk performance at the ITC. So where we can just open that part of a CAT to our community. Phase 2 will be like CAT Cares, where we have Wellness Wednesdays, maybe twice a month. We'll invite maybe 5 Second Harvest to give out fresh vegetables and fruit to at the ITC twice a month. We charge the riders can just come and pick up anytime they're at the activity. And phase 3 will be a cat mobile situation where we use a bus that's not in use. So where we might can go out into community for community events and just have cats name out there. So those are the reasons for that we're planning to do.
And board members, be on the lookout for opportunities to participate in the CatCast podcast. I'm sure we'll be inviting board members to come and have conversations about your next cat or services board member, especially because of a particular interest, whether that's mental health or whether that is safety or whether that's sort of art and culture piece. We're going to be leveraging your talents and your interests and expertise in those CatCasts as well. So
With the podcast, how are you gonna get people to come to you? That's gonna be done online, right?
Well, the podcast will be more, it will be done online, but there are platforms like iTunes, Spotify,
Right.
the platforms like that. And if it ever becomes a live podcast where we have an audience, that's something else that we can figure out. But right now, we're just focused on pushing it on social media and online. Is that?
Well, my question is, if you're gonna do a podcast, you have to have an audience.
Right.
So how will you get that audience?
Well, mainly our main tool right now is social media to promote the podcast whenever we get the final details of that out there. But that's why it will be like Mr. National said, a range of topics like the mental health, like the art, so we can focus on many different groups to make it appealing to everybody.
but the reach of the audience director will be through either the social media platforms that we use to push it out. So it may or may not be a live interaction. It just may be a presentation type podcast. Or as she was saying, we also may have opportunities before we set it up purposefully to be able to have live interactions, but we would still use typically those social media platforms that we already have a lot of folks that are subscribed to and engaged with us. So they would get the notifications and know that there's going to be an opportunity to participate live or to at least hear a presentation on something.
It could be an interesting idea to see if those could be shared by different partners, like media partner. Savannah Morning News would be willing to put, like here's a link to Cats. I don't know if this is happening monthly or whatever, to do a Cats podcast. We're always looking for content.
That's definitely something we will consider. So before, this is my last slide, but before we talked about cat reaching out to the community, we're now, we're also focusing on cat reaching out to our employees, because we want our employees to know that we care about what they're doing, that they are doing a great service to our community, and we want them to feel love as well, not just our community. So we are planning some things. We're planning to bring food trucks here. We're planning to bring a wellness center. We're also planning to do something monthly with our employees, like maybe just have certain things out there for them, like maybe like when football season comes around, like come with your jersey, come have food, come in, just certain things, and that's still in the planning phase. But that's why I said stay tuned. But yeah, just outreach into our employees as well. We're also focusing on that.
On the rest of the executive director's report, I also wanted to mention a couple of things to you. I know that there's materials in here on our ongoing activities with Squire Fox and our other representatives. Of course, we are always tracking federal opportunities to determine where we've got good fits and good partnership opportunities. One of the things that I think is really important that we're working on right now with that team of representation, both in the state and our Spark Fox team, is you may recall for the last several years that there was a fund that was created at the state level, the Georgia Transit Fund, that was based upon ride-hailing fees. Up until this point, we have not been sharing in, or not been a participant in that revenue source. And for a variety of reasons, it's been directed to other places in the state. One of the things that we're doing is working on strategy, not necessarily for the upcoming legislative session, although that may be a part of it, but this may not be that kind of a legislative matter, it may be a matter of just working with state leadership to determine how we can best engage and be a partner in that, and those resources can become an additional or different revenue stream for us in some measure. So just know that there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and I'm engaged in on that. And we are very excited to both have Mr. Kingston and Mr. Backer as key partners in how we're so, stay tuned and more to come on that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our interim COO, Mr. Dumas, to talk about the service delivery and safety update. Mr. Dumas.
Morning, Chairman, Cody, Board of Directors, and all of you that are here, and those people who are listening in. Your service delivery and safety updates included in the packet. We would like to do a presentation update on transit operation. Next slide. Our fixed route performance, on-time performance for the month of June is down from last month. Next slide. Our fixed route ridership, it is up from last month, which is good. We see the increase in ridership and passengers per hour, in spite of some of the challenges that we're facing. Our ridership continues to move in an upward direction. Next slide. Our paratransit on-time performance, our on-time performance is up from last month, and it was above the target. So it's great for our paratransit drivers who are working hard and moving throughout Chapter County, delivering service, providing the service to all those who requested it. Our top 5 performers for paratransit driver Teresa Williams, Tiffany Grubbs, Charles Robinson, Nicole Lloyd, and Paul Triana Warren. Next slide. Our paratransit ridership. Our ridership is up from last month, and also CRC only provided 33 trips last month. They're still struggling with some of their same things we have with employment, but they did provide a limited amount of service last month. Next slide. Our online reservation, we had 9 reservations for last month of June, down from last month and also down from a year ago. Next slide. Our water ferry ridership. Our water ferry ridership is up from last month, significantly higher, because last month the convention center hosted one of the largest conventions they have for the Georgia Municipal Association, and they had over 2,500 registered guests that used the system last month, in addition to what we know.
One thing I want to add to that is I know some of you may be aware that that is a place, and I included this in the snapshot, that we did have some challenges during that event. There were situations there that were exacerbated by what had happened with the sinkhole ramp, but nonetheless, there were challenges there. Mr. Allen and I, the market services manager, and I had a follow-up directly with Larry Hanson, the executive director of GMA, and we made a commitment both in terms of a statement to their membership regarding the challenges they experienced while they were here, but also a commitment to next year. That is the largest convention that's hosted in Savannah. And we made a commitment that as leading up to that event, they put out a series of communications for the membership and GMA about things that are going to be going on at that conference. We've committed to being a part, an active part of those communications, to be able to talk to people about by next year what they can expect, what might have changed about the service by the improvements we might make, but also to reiterate to those that are using the service what the schedules, how to interpret the schedules, so that they can make sure that they take the right time of ferry to have an on-time arrival at needed sessions where they're getting continuing education credits and so forth. Because I think that there's probably some opportunity to improve the understanding of how to read schedules and such. So I think that our recovery from the challenges that they experienced have been robust. And I know that both the local leadership in Visit Savannah at the convention center, so I was very pleased with how we responded to matters that were disappointing to those who had issues. So we're moving on that.
Next slide. Our maintenance means distance between vehicle failure was better than it was last month. And in addition to that, it was also above our target. So good job on maintenance staff. Our mobility service call center, our wait time was above our 67 target for last month. We did not meet that target. Most of that was due to staffing shortage. That's a contributing factor to that. But I think that we have made offers to 3 individuals. We're just waiting on the background. Help us improve that wait time. That's
Question. Just like the National Association of Homes, maybe, how short are we? I mean, this is obviously county government as well, shortages everywhere, but how short are we?
in the call center itself.
So that overall, whether it's operators or staff behind the scenes, how short are we?
I would give you I have to think about the overall number. We can give you where we are, where shortages are right now, to the operators, we can call center, we give it to the back to the business center. It's just our shortages, but we are aggressively hiring. You see that in the snapshot every.
Yeah, I see that you are hiring, but I was just curious. How this is affecting our service and our workforce.
Right, so the overall percentage I gave, I know that I give you kind of heads up on 3 to 4 departments. The call center is about 3 to 5 employees short. Services, it's about, I think they have budget 16 employees, and 11 employees, or 6 to 7 employees short over there. Our fixed route service, we are budgeted for 110 operators. We currently have 75 full-time operators. Okay, and then our paratransit, which is doing extremely better, we have maybe it's 23 drivers, we're budgeted for 42. So we're still short, but we're doing better than what we were.
And in every one of those categories right now, we are trending in the right direction right now. We are starting to see more applications, and we are getting more people through training, and we're getting more people background checks and drug screens and all those kinds of things that are necessary steps. I would say it's sort of slow but steady, but it is steady and moving in the right direction.
I understand, I was just curious because
It's still a daunting picture.
well, it's still a nationwide problem.
Absolutely. Oh, one other thing that I should mention related to that is it's more the overall picture is, I think it was in last week's snapshot. One of the things that I just recently was joined the Georgia Transit Association Board, and also in some work that I've been doing with APTA. Workforce development, to your point, it's a national challenge for everybody in the transit industry and lots of industries. But I think we have a very unique opportunity in Georgia to leverage some of the expertise that's available at Georgia Tech, specifically in transit system development, that kind of thing. That's a unique set of expertise that they have under someone like her name is Dr. Catherine Ross. I don't know if you've been familiar with her, she's been there for a long time. But with Dr. Ross, but also with GTA, and then I had a conversation with our regional MTA administrator, Dr. Annette Taylor, and we agreed that a partnership of all of us to come together to do a really robust research project around workforce development that deals with a variety of things. For example, and my thought was that the union needs to be a part of that, because every transit system is also navigating workforce development in a union environment. And so the notion that the workforce is changing perhaps, and that the people that we hire that have been operators, as an example, for 40, 30, 20 years, that's not the same workforce we're recruiting in right now. And so the notion that we'll recruit the same way with the same tools is not going to yield us great results. So what we're doing is we're saying, okay, let's think about this from a perspective and bring all the partners around the table, come up with a research protocol that can help us get better insights, deeper insights into something that might be a very dramatic different change of how we do all this. And so those groups, both FTA, GTA, the Research Institute and so forth are all, and the union are all excited about thinking about this and figuring out how we put that forward. I included that workforce development proposal in the last snapshot.
I was gonna write that into the section on the new business, but I want to bring this up. Again, coming back from mention, there's a program called Operation Greenlight, and it will be around Veterans Day. And if you all want to participate, I'd like to see you participate. We will shine a green light outside of our building to help people that are coming back from service gain employment within their communities. And so I think it would be great if we're talking about workforce development, if we could, in fact, recruit some of our military that are returning, that are looking for jobs. So I think it would be great if we could participate in Operation Greenlight.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I was going to include this in the snapshot this week, but let me mention it related to that. We had an outreach yesterday from an organization called Military Makeover Operation Career. It is it's a program that is a broadcast program of Lifetime Television, and what they're doing is recruiting veterans, bringing veterans back into the workforce, either returning or retirees or whatever type thing. They asked us if we would participate as one of their showcased potential career paths. And so we're very excited. We're going to investigate that opportunity with them next week, both because it's exciting because we recruit a lot of veterans actually, and we get a lot of veteran applicants, and so that's exciting. It's also exciting from a marketing and a media perspective to potentially be a part of something like Lifetime that's showcasing that exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, so I will get you a copy of the resolution that the county will pass on Operation Greenlight. And I think it would be great if this board could consider passing the same thing and shine the green light out, showing our support for recruiting and hiring.
Yeah, Director Sutton has an excellent suggestion. We look forward to getting that information from you and bringing it back before this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. Our continuing mobility service call, our average number of incoming calls, it's about the same as it was last month, so we didn't make much changes in that. That's not necessarily bad, because the shortened staff, we're still handling a volume number of calls that are coming in. And also our top advocate for that answer rate, Sierra Leaks, Ophelia Williams, and Barbara Sanders, each of those are above 98% target. Next slide, our safety update for preventable accident for the month of June, we had 7 non-preventable accidents, 4 preventable incidents, 1 non-preventable incidents, 13 workers' comp claim, 2 drugs screening, 9 of those, and DOT physicals, 13 for the month of June. Yes, sir.
What is an incident? What is an accident?
Okay, good question. So an accident would be where there's some type of contact, anything above the tire above on the vehicle that makes contact with a fixed object or a moving object. Incident, it varies. It can be something that could be a fall. It could be where someone, applied their brakes on because the vehicle motions out or runs to a stop sign and out, did not have an accident. By the brakes, so there's an accident. There's a contact. Yes. And so the incident range fairly far, but that's generally the difference.
Do see.
Yeah. They are, but it's because we're reporting everything that comes in. And we do this one, we have to make sure that we report it, get it to our insurance carrier soon as possible to avoid any possible litigation.
I don't think entirely, and that's a great point, both the director and we're explaining. I don't think the uptick is necessarily because there's a less safe condition, but the responsibility to report is something that we are dramatically underscoring, because you may recall from some earlier meetings, right after I first got here, some conversations that we had to have with some of the situations that we had. And the failure to report component was one that put us in a higher risk position. So our safety program, which you heard a report on, our presentation from Patrick Fahey back, I think like 2 weeks or so ago, you noted that we really become much more robust in our safety management practices, and that reporting is taken super seriously. So I think we might be over-reporting a bit, but over-reporting is so much better than under-reporting.
Well, and also, I mean, it's not, I mean, we're traveling a considerable amount of miles in complex situations. To expect that there would be zero non-preventable incidents is also unrealistic. So I think it'll be interesting once we sort of, maybe a year or two of data. What is our average? What should we be aiming for? We'll be aiming for zero, but it would be unrealistic to expect that. Thank you.
On the system development update, I'd like to ask Ashley Goodrich, our grants planning manager, to offer it. Just a short. Systems development, which is strategic planning and development. Our ridership review, we're beginning to see overall ridership growth across all routes in the fixed route mode. And that is through both our core services and our non-shuttle. We do still have a decrease in overall system hours due to coming out of the pandemic and ongoing driver shortage. However, a significant number of our routes are starting to be our pre-COVID KPI of 18 passengers per hour. That would be route 14, route 3B. And we're also seeing significant ridership increases in the waters corridor and Skidway. To talk a little bit further about how ridership is doing, the DOT shuttle started back at this time last year, and we are now through the month of June to the month of July starting to see a full purview of the DOT ridership as we got back out of the pandemic, and now we have kind of looking at that full year of ridership increase. We still have routes that we are keeping our eye on, such as the route 10, the route 3, 4, and route 8.
And when you say, eye on the routes, so look for the increase in ridership or changes or.
Sure. So the route 28 would be an excellent route to think about. We are looking at putting additional service back on the 28th a little bit later this fall. We're looking at around September. And that is due to the demand on that route, but also to look at the ridership increase that we've had. We have a 22% ridership increase while also having almost a 50% decrease in system hours for that particular route of service. So if you were running the same amount of hours with the same number of vehicles today that we were before we started the pandemic, we'd hope to see a continuing increase in that ridership number. And that's sort of where, as a percentage, the passengers per hour is a good statistic to look at that, because you have ridership increase, but then you could have service hour decrease, and then it's a good average sort of out. Director Robinson, one of the things that you're going to see too is, remember, we're going to have two companion efforts, deep dive efforts going on at the same time. One at the route level, one at the more system level. Master transit plan on the system level with a comprehensive operational analysis development plan on the route level. And the notion of keeping our eye on, paying particular attention is where we have routes that either we're seeing a real subscription increase, more ridership that's desired there than what we currently got capacity or what we're currently having the hours of service for, or other routes that maybe, the performance is just not rebounding there's something else there that we need to look at. We're keeping our eye on those, but we've got the tools in place and the expertise in place with those two study efforts to make sure that we look at those things and figure out what do we need to do to adjust either these upcoming scheduling, route change matters, or in a more wholesale system. So,
cap planning items for the month of June include the cap master transit, comprehensive plan implementation strategies that was in our board earlier in the agenda. Working on call services for protection and engineering, as well as contractor construction for our community.
but what's three? So it's on-call for engineering, on-call for planning, on-call for project program management. Just that limit. We need those kinds of on-call services in a task order environment where we're only using it when we need it, if we need it. We're able to negotiate each of those task orders at the moment that those needs are occurring. But to know that we've got that kind of, you would never want to hire up for all of that, because those kinds of the variability, those kinds of demands is like this. And so what you want to do is you don't want to hire them in and not need it. And so what you do is you put in place on-call services for those primary activities that we may need support for. Again, planning, engineering, and project and program management. And then you have them like where you can use them as you need. And having that kind of capability at our fingertips is something that is very much needed. So
Further are working on, we have so far the board called our Uber contract and insurance update. We do have a slide a little bit further down where we are going to talk about the upcoming months, what that is, and what that means in the first mile, last mile implementation, and micro transit as a mode. Our staff is currently working on the amendments database. We've progressed through 3/4 of the entire route system. In terms of the amenities database, this is where we were looking at where maybe a flagpole is missing, or we're making sure that our benches are still in good shape, our shelters, like where we have them in our computers at the locations that they've been installed at. That kind of confirmation at the stock level is very helpful for us, because then it is much easier for us to put that data out to the public and to our learners when needed. Also, as we work through the master transit plan and further analysis for our system region-wide, there's a few of those things that are very important to us, and so that we are doing so on our amenities installation.
Actually, I got a question.
Sure.
Yesterday, the day before, I had a writer contact me and they asked where can they submit information about stops that might be messy or missing a bench or something like that. And I said, I don't know. I wasn't sure if there's somewhere on the website, but do we have some sort of where a writer can quickly go online and say there is?
We do. So,
and we get those reports, so I know it's working.
Okay, cool.
on our website, we have a comment form, and this actually is the info@catchacat.org email address. So also if you happen to start using our new cat tracker that came out earlier this year, or as we progress through our ITS and we move a little bit forward on apps, things that will be coming through on the technology side in the upcoming quarters, the cat tracker, for instance, also at the bottom shows where that info@catchacat.org email is. So the comment form is essentially the same, and it is a little bit of a catch-all, but if anywhere were to email us at the info line, it is recorded, it's tracked, and then the complaint is processed to the right department. Amenities in this case would go to our maintenance and operating operations, because we do have an amenities team here in-house that are some of our most valuable employees that are out in our system, out in the field every day. They're the ones cleaning those things up and power washing them, painting them, repairing them. So anytime you see something that is wrong with a particular amenity or something that's damaged, let us know so that we can then get our team out there to get those fixed up.
That's great. I'm saying that it's right now. I think, yeah, anything we can do make sure people know about that. That's very helpful.
The next item is the Garden City update. We are continuing to work closely with the city, Garden City, and our legal team for an intergovernmental agreement for phases on State Route 21 and bus stop and landing installation in our current routes of service, which would be the Route 3B, Augusta, and through West Chatham. We currently are working on a costing update on how a portion of that service within the current system. How does that work towards the cost of the entire route, which is important for the city? And those pieces of that are what we are still kind of being updated on, which is helpful, of course, for all of the routes. In addition to the IGA development that we're working with our legal, we are working very good Thompson right now on the installation cost estimates for the new stops. That would be on State Route 21, and then as Ashley just mentioned, on the corresponding operations cost would be for that as well. In our meetings with Garden City, what they're planning to do is they are financially committing to the cost of the installation of those stops, and obviously the expansion of that service there. So it's an outstanding partnership, and we're having very similar discussions on it. Important work.
So the expanding the services in Garden City on, will that have an impact on the tax base?
They have a
So they're already paying into it. So we're not expanding outside of that. So I thought one of the goals was to expand outside of that, which would cause.
I think that part of how and where we have it as a part of the master transit plan effort, but this particular is to do something right now that can make a difference right now with the needs that they have there, and something that can be frankly pretty easily implemented and municipal. So we're very excited about this more sort of focused expansion or system services there.
Yes.
We do. We have had really good, and they are, we met with the city manager and had some conversations with some of their leadership. We're still sort of distilling down exactly what it should be and how it would be and so forth. But they too have made the conversation that I had with the city manager was a commitment that they were making through the potential, depending on the T-Splosh moving forward as well, as to how they can have transit as from their perspective, a pretty substantive piece of it. So that's exciting too. And we're working with them, they have opportunities as those Garden City with the Amazon facilities. And this goes back to what we've been talking about too, about the business line. So we have fixed route, we have fair transit, we have specialty services with the DOT and the ferry services, but the fourth business line would be express commuter bus. And how can that also, now that would be a more regional kind of effort, but nonetheless, it plays right into the kinds of needs that some of these other, surrounding cities and communities have. The final item for cap planning in the month of June, we have posted a position for our chief planning officer. This is a new posting in the last couple of weeks, but we're quite excited to have chief plan to lead us as we work through our master transit plan and also other ongoing studies. We are excited also to say that in the month of June, we have hired for the service segment position, which is very technological focused and computer focused in our transit system, particularly in this route. And we are also excited to say that we will have systems planning manager. We get some great candidates for those positions and we hired for those. So look to see some new faces and some new talent.
So it was half been hired.
Yes. Yes, planning. Once we get scheduled, systems planning manager, and then actually in the planning manager position. And then next year, and in next year's budget, we'll consider what we need to do perhaps around filling the limits around more transit. So very excited, but planning is really coming together a very comprehensive goal resource. Yes.
Random question, do we buy the land that bus stops on, or just instead?
So we are required by federal law to maintain continuing control of all activities. And the majority of our activities by bus stop are actually in the street right away. So we work cross jurisdictionally with our state, the chief on state laws, which we work with the city, we work with the county, we work with the city. It does depend on how much right away is available per corridor. And that's where there's a little bit of math calculated to come into that. Just because you have to have enough space in order to make that happen. And we also are focused on our ADA measures that we continue to move forward with our needs. And we will be going over the next 2 months.
That is
No, but that's where if we need to, besides our ongoing contracted funds, we'll have other planning and engineering available for some of these small pieces where we're just trying to make a connection from where we have existing sidewalk to something that's coming down a little bit. Then we can actually get the specifications needed for individual placements in our transit system.
I have another question about the chief position, financing that position. Is that a part of the 2022 budget or is it part of the 2023 budget? Or is that, are we can afford it because of all the vacancies that have not been filled?
It's a part of the reorganization,
Right.
and it is a part of the FY23 budget.
So on our next slide, we talk a little bit about microtransit and what microtransit is. It is the first mile and last mile implementation that this board has been discussing now for a few months this past year. One piece of the puzzle for microtransit is that it will be a new mode of transit service for us here at CAP. It is primarily can be done as a contract service, which is what this board has previously looked at. But over the next few months, between now and October to November, the planning staff will be looking at the systems analysis portion of implementation to microtransit. What does that mean for our system itself? And where is the sort of the coverage versus ridership argument that is needed to make service successful? We will be having our first public meeting to discuss microtransit on August 17th. We will also have another meeting in September to discuss microtransit. A big part of why we will be having sort of a full robust scope for microtransit is that even though we previously already discussed route suspension for the microtransit, we do want to make sure that we are trying to cover these areas of our system that need the microtransit as a mode that may not actually need what our fixed route system operates.
One other thing I want to mention on the hiring side
is I know Ashley mentioned that we hired a scheduler, and we're very excited that person comes to us from a transit authority and understanding, so an experienced person in the transit environment, so that's exciting. And that is a more technology kind of related position. And this person had experience with Clever and so that was all good. But in addition to that, on Monday, we had an offer last week, and on Monday, we have an acceptance from the IT innovation manager. And so that person will also be coming on board for the next couple of weeks. Again, a very experienced, 30-year plus experienced individual. So they're not planning, they're over under the chief administrative officer. But that notion of how we're building up our capacity in technology and innovation to support across not just sort of the day-to-day of desktops and those kinds of things, but also to support things like the application of technology and innovation in our operations and service. We really are building out a strong team as well. So I wanted to mention that. That's another new person that's coming.
Comment on the micro transit update. Sure. I listened to the suggestion in your public regions. I'd like to see you deal with vocabulary. I would love to public understanding. Let's think about how we
So that is something that, at least for this first meeting, and then also in the next meeting, because we are going to have more than one, we will discuss by definition what is microtransit, what is that first mile, last mile. Because as a part of these meetings, it's not just so much that we're doing a notification to the public. We will actually, for planning staff purposes, be asking questions of those who come to the meeting and say, as we progress through the systems analysis for microtransit, that we also want to know and make sure that we're covering the public and to not just to comment on this is a service that I want to have, but this is a service that I need, and then specifically where am I looking for that service, and where would that service be most helpful. We would probably we were trying to have this as a full entire project. I think it's about a 90-day review. We will probably end up putting forth together in this month of September a couple of meetings in the areas where we're talking about what this service will be before. And that is also so that as we gain more public comment, we can also then describe a little bit more what it is.
I think your point though is well made. I think you know, oftentimes in any sort of public sector or government agency environment, we start talking either acronyms or in technical analyses kinds of terms that the public and the average person choosing our services that they're going, I'm not sure what they're saying. We're going to be very mindful of that, not only in these kinds of things, but I think we're trying to really work on that in everything we do. Is that our external, and it's a part of what the comms team is working on too, is in all of our external facing in particular, how are we making sure that anybody can pick up a document that we put out and read it and understand it, or can hear something that we're offering as a piece of information and understand it without having to be an engineer or planner or transit professional or any of those kinds of things. So I appreciate so much you bringing that up because it's something to keep underscoring that we need to be very mindful of and doing our business. So thank you.
Final slide. The slide is a release and it's update as we spoke about previously. We are working at a 2022 review for where our days are, where our database hasn't stopped, where have we had our most recent installations, and then also for our equity purposes, where these line up across our system in both where we want to place contributors and where we have our one thing that we kind of want to point out with the database is that this is something that needs to happen every couple of years or so as a general update to the system. And that is because when you have traffic accidents or you have development growth, you have new construction, as we do across Savannah and Chatham County, is that sometimes a stop might get moved a little bit over because of a new gas station or a new apartment complex, or we may have a new apartment complex and we need to stop there and we need to before, because that density argument is coming into play across our system. As we get into the master transit plan, this will be very, very important for us because both the master transit plan and CDP will be looking at things at a stop level. And so if we're missing something like, say, we need flagpoles put on Route 3 in West Chatham, we have folks that want to ride our system, but they may be having trouble finding the buses. They may be trouble having finding the stop. We want to make sure that our meetings are up to date. And that's just because to use the Route 3 again as an example, if there's an accident over on State Route 21 or on the Roche, those types of things, and that sign gets taken out, then we need to make sure that our staff is actually getting the sign to go back
What that does also help us is as we move forward on new shelter placements, new shelter orders, benches, ADA, is that the ADA itself, we have a congruent database as much as we possibly can to say all our stops that we follow, do our stops that we need sidewalk. Okay, if they need more sidewalk, or they need better sidewalk, or they need sidewalk replacement, what is that going to cost? Is it going to cost us a cap? Are we going to work with our city and county jurisdictions? Where was that funding going to come from? But then from an immediate sense, what exactly do we need?
One other thing I should mention to you is we recently had a meeting with Mayor Johnson, and as a part of that, we talked about BGT, we are aware that we're talking a lot about development, actually it's mentioned sidewalks and stops. So we're going to use some transportation together. And we talked to in that meeting about how we better coordinate at that site plan level or opportunities to make sure that transit stops and all those kinds of things are fully considered in the most opportunistic moment when things are actually considered built, planned, developed. And we have completed, our legal team has completed a review of development guidelines and site plan review guidelines, and we've offered some comments back to our city staff in terms of how we might best work together on those. So look for some upcoming updates on that as well. But I think that's a very exciting additional benefit to us, because if we build things into developments from the very beginning, not shoehorn the transit, sure it's there when you first move in and you're first getting used to how you're getting around. That's how we build successful systems.
One of the things that I have asked, and we've had several changes, so I'm sure we just got lost, is that especially south side, there's several bus stops that don't have. And so there are ant hills and stuff there, and then there's many south side that don't have a cup. So when it's raining, people are standing there drenched. So before we do the new ones, I'd like to make sure that we look at those, because we have several on the south side that you don't even know is a bus stop.
What we'll do, Director, thank you for bringing that. That's really important. You're right. We've got to focus on making sure that what we have is the very best before we one of the things that we can do is the similar to the suite that we did in other corridors, is do a suite of that side and look at all of those and make note of those kinds of improvements that need to be made. Because I completely agree with you. We were having a conversation, this was related to the Garden City matter, about what will shops look like. And I said, the thing about it is the notion that it's acceptable or it's okay to just put a sign and just say stop. If we really want people to ride trains, if we really want to build quality service, then we've got to have places where people can wait for their trip in a dignified and safe and comfortable manner, which means things like shelters and benches and lighting and so forth. Right? It needs to be in every place.
It's
all in the corporate.
So, and when you think about it, but think back on what Director Dell was saying, that the county is helping to subsidize that, really need to make sure that the area at least has some decent shelters, so that we can get those. But our point is really bad. Okay. And especially when you get close to Overthorpe Mall, you just got a pole. And we had talked about having businesses adopt us bus stop, because we have several that are right there where the car dealerships are. Maybe they'll adopt the bus stop and finish it out.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So actually, I was in there with them this weekend and noticed several places like that. And I got out working the side street, got out walking. So exactly.
And like near Savannah Mall, those are really awkward. They're on inclines. It's just grass. They're ant hills.
Well, it's got to be comfortable. It's got to be safe. Yeah.
And there's a lot of women who use those with children. You know, so it's just not, at Middle Ground Road, that's enough. South Side is just really black.
At the next, meeting,
Sandflies back.
Sandfly is really bad.
at the next meeting, director, we will give a specific update on the ones that are looking at.
Those we're halfway.
And the other thing too, even if they're compliant, I don't know who's responsible for that, but there are not areas where wheelchairs actually roll up to, you know, the whole, what do you call it? It's just the same all the way around, and then the focal wheelchair, you can roll up to it, and there's no way for them to do it.
I've noticed most of the people that are in wheelchairs get picked up at Overflow Mall. They go to Overflow and transition back and forth, because you'll see them crossing the street to get to Overflow. I don't think anybody tries to use, because they're just not accessible.
And but again, in San Fly too, because you got a Walmart there, you know, catching the bus and trying to, and some people actually travel from the San Fly wheelchair all the way down to Walmart to get on the bus, and you know, they're trying to navigate the sidewalk and then get down from the sidewalk. And I said, that this is the out of the wheelchair to get down to get to the bus stop. It's gotta be, because there's no incline for them to go down. So.
These are all excellent points, Director. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up and making sure that they're calling our attention to those things. And like I said, we'll plan to have a very specific update on this area, and sort of sweep of this area and assessment and work on how we and next week. Thank you.
If I may also think of that, it would be great if we could change every bus stop, you know, by snapping our fingers into a full bus stop, but we can't. So figuring out sort of, okay, well, how do we plug the gaps as quickly as possible? Maybe not every bus stop in these areas, but as long as we make sure it's not an absolute desert of areas that are ADA accessible or have a roof, and that can help. If people know where these bus stops are, they will, and they are, they'll travel to them. And I think that helps.
And that is something that you will see coming out of that comprehensive operational analysis development plan work. The shorter the route structure work, you'll also see that from a system level perspective. But we'll focus in on the area right now.
Yeah, I don't think any of us expected you to do that either. It's multiple bus stops, it's multiple, the land spans of the whole area is expansive. I think what I asked for is to identify them and to systematically start working on them. There's no time frame.
And I just like to give a report back to you next month, because that keeps it on higher times.
Going back to the transit-oriented development, I can't remember if we had this sort of discussion about whether parking requirements could be lessened for developments that are occurring around transit stops, bus stops. Is that?
No.
We can forward that over to the appropriate folks to see, and then if you see it's important for their consideration.
I remember when NUSA was being adopted, that was a conversation to have about, especially on Route 14. That's a pretty simple way to encourage development.
Absolutely.
Doing a lot of stuff.
Next update is the financial services update. I'll ask CFO Cutter.
So you go.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to give you an overview of June financials, in addition to giving you an overview of fiscal year 2022. As you can see, the chart and the graphic represents how we did in the month of June, and how we did revenues in comparison to expenditures for fiscal year 22. I'd like to call your attention to the month of June. Simply because it represents backing out of approved grant revenues. When we don't receive the grant revenue, or when the grant isn't executed within the current fiscal year, we have to back that approval. So that's why the revenue figure significantly lower in the month of June. Overall, for fiscal year 22, as the chart and the graph reflects, our revenues did exceed our expenditures by $1.5 million. Now, with this, if we had received our 5307 funds for 21 and 22, the goal was to move some of those funds into the reserve funds. Pat was very fortunate that we were able to make it through the year, primarily because of good stewardship within the organization. Overspending, we were able to make it through the fiscal year without any draw on the line of credit, without going into our existing fund reserves.
Pointing that out, it's June's shot to be at the revenues and expenditures.
Okay, the pie charts reflects, of course, where the revenue came from for the month of June. And then the pie chart on the right, it is a snapshot for the entire fiscal year. In fiscal year 22, the revenue totaled $26,873,649. As I talked about, on the left, the grants, it appears to be gold there. You'll see a minus 46%. That represents the $5307 that were projected, however, did not come. Next slide gives an overview of expenses for the month of June and for the entire fiscal year. The month of June, the expenses were $2,300,746. The chart tells you where the expenses were by category. Here again, no surprises, salaries and wages and benefits takes up the largest percentage of our operating budget. For the entire fiscal year, same picture. Salaries and wages makes up the largest component. I know you all have heard that the human resource is the most valuable part of any organization. That's where your money is, and our graph reflects that picture as well. Our cash receipts for the month, the special district taxes came in at $3.1 million. Our paratransit funds, that's accrued over at the same amount over a 12-month period. And right now we are in the process of reconciling our paratransit costs. It may result in us returning monies back to Chatham County. If there was any overage, Chatham County will reimburse Chatham area transit. The per occupied room fees came in at $61,701, and FTA assistance, art monies for the month 782,496. This amount represents grant revenue for May and June. Our bank statement balance at the end of the month was $8.5 million. That's good news. That's good news. Now, I'll be coming back with a recommendation to the CEO to bring to the board. We need to move some of this money into reserves. There's a tendency sometimes when you see the numbers like this, everybody thinks it's a lot to spend. That's not the case. We have to prepare for the future. Tough economic times.
There's also reports, but when they do have contingencies, and that says they're now starting to talk to financial advisors as to maybe how to make that money work a little bit. And I realize it might be premature at this point, but just planting the seed for if we can keep a reserve to possibly make the most of that reserve. So I'd be happy to share with you, sit down with you at some point, discuss, what I've learned from other boards that are experiencing some reserves.
Thank you.
And that's a huge component of the transformation. Financial, long-term, short-term.
And I'm sure we eventually will not take this risk.
Absolutely. I have to say it right.
Well, you have to get those
I'm
two
with you.
things.
I'm
Yeah.
with you.
This is other organizations that are not-for-profit, same thing. You don't want to put your money in jeopardy, but you do, I mean, certainly what you're getting paid in interest has gotten better. But it's, I think you can make money work better.
A director, like I think there's two things we have to keep in mind. One, which we did, right, the risk management piece of it, the other piece is our time flexibility. Because as Sylvia pointed out, we are planning towards and thinking very, very critically about an upcoming fiscal cliff that within all transit systems are going to be experiencing around in year 25. So we are in thinking about that, that the reserves that we are going to be very prudently putting back need to work for us to the maximum amount that they can with a very measured, very moderate level of risk, but also with a maximum amount of flexibility, because when we do need to be able to access and so forth, we're going to need to do that. And we're doing that with an eye towards making sure that we can manage our own situation at that point without reliance upon credit lines and all those kinds of things. We want to be planning and thoughtful again. And maybe the fiscal cliff that is anticipated won't be as severe as it's forecasted right now. But with the discussions of recessions and with that fiscal cliff and so forth, doing what we're doing right now is smart and it's effective and it's the right way to retain our independence and control through that situation.
There are some investment firms right now that are offering fairly short-term CDs that show very good returns. And so, I think there are opportunities for us to keep our money safe, but to earn a little more interest.
I appreciate you bringing that up.
Okay, the graph on the screen, it just shows the monthly cash balance through the fiscal year. And as you can see, it was a dip in May, and then it came back up in June as projected. CAT's current fiscal pathway is brighter. As I talked about briefly, the reserve contribution, it is projected that we will be depositing $3.8 million into the Georgia Fund, the account that was on the agenda today. It is an investment account, and we do earn interest on the investments in that account. With that, it will push our reserve fund balance up to $7.8 million, which represents a goal accomplished. Our policy indicates that we should maintain 3 months of operating expenses at all times. We will be able to meet that goal.
That is remarkable, and I hope that the board and directors are both excited and impressed with that accomplishment. We are thrilled. We really are making sure our house is fully
Kenny and Bobby, and I should make sure that the county is aware of that. I know people all tell them, but I'm talking about commissioners. In years past, there have been some commissioners that have been very concerned about the line of credit, and using the line of credit, and, all the problems that we experienced in Chatham area transit. So I think it would be great for the commission as a whole to be there.
absolutely. We can, we'll also make sure to share that in a very clear way with the campus leadership, so that it can be shared. But I appreciate you reminding us of that. No, this is exactly where we.
How do we
What is a reserve fund calculation?
It's 3 months of operating. Yes, and keep in mind, the 7.8 is really a minimum. We should be trying to exceed that, to sustain us during periods of reduced revenue.
Certainly, if capital improvements and projects, this 3-month reserve should help our bond rating. We never need to borrow money for capital improvements, and so I don't know what that process will be like, but certainly something to be acknowledged at this point, because that's important.
We are currently undergoing the fiscal year 22 annual audits. The auditors have been asking for financial records. They will be on site during the month of August. As we prepare for transforming into the new norm, as we see community growth, hopefully we'll be seeing signs of increased ridership. And of course, growth represents increased tax revenues. The fiscal year 23 budget, one thing we focused on as that budget was developed was sustainable and efficient operations, resulting in reorganization. Of course, the focus areas that we talked about, going green with the new electric buses, possible fleet expansions, connecting the community through the transit master plan, open opportunities, and a key feature from the benefit side is on employee wellness. We did experience a significant increase in our medical insurance premiums that was based on claims. We can't continue to do things the same way. So this robust investment in employee wellness is to help to drive medical insurance claims down. With these savings, we have committed to putting those savings toward better pay for our employees and better benefits for our employees. The 10-year financial plan coming soon as a part of the transit master plan and implementation strategy. Our human resources stats for the month of June, we had a total of 4 new hires and a total of 7 separations from the organization. The chart gives you the areas where employees were hired, and it also shows areas where employees separated from the organization. Are there any questions? Thank you for that. Thank you for your attention.
CEO and staff for a very excellent presentation and update. Very now we're gonna take a break for lunch. Go into executive session to discuss personnel matters.
We do. Do you want to go ahead and do the roll call for the, for entering into the second session with the break? Okay. We have a motion from Director Stone, second from Director Lockett.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll do a roll call vote. Director Emerson?
Yeah.
Director Odell? We'll get her vote as soon as she returns. We'll go enter into executive session with a 7-minute break. Director Odell?
Yes.
Director Stone?
Yes.
Director Lockett?
Yes.
Director Adams,
Yes.
Director Robinson,
Yes.
Director Leggett,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Chairman Cody.
Yes.
Chairman, motion passed to enter into executive session with the break before.
We're gonna ask for everybody to go and get their lunch.
Bring it here.
And bring it back in here, we'll just have to have a working lunch through executive.
I also said no, but.
I wasn't gonna, we were on stage between you.
How come there's no electricity here?
I don't think tables are plugged.
That's right.
I thought it was connected to the core somewhere. Yeah, supposed to get those installed. No, I'm talking about the
In the
core.
floor.
I thought we talked about it.
That's what I want. But I think.
Maybe I should have some of this. I don't have to stay here. That was good.
Yes.
Okay.
That way, when
They'll print them out. They'll print them all out.
Yes.
It'll be a FaceTime.
That's what I'm saying. I'm doing my digital at home.
Okay. What am I signing? So, right, highlighting like, this is a formality, gotta be showing that you all, the chairman, student affidavit that says we went in executive session. Obviously.
That's all.
No, all of you. And then there's an attached affidavit. He's on there. Great job, we have so much money. That's great, Steve. It's crazy. That's good. It's good. Oh, I'm about to write myself, I've got to say.
I'm starting to break out roots now, not yet.
We do, we keep the lawyers.
You do well.
You gonna eat that?
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Make
So,
sure.
I'm doing very well. See you. Yes, absolutely. Glad you could be you. Sure. Thank you. I had to rush out of bed this morning and.
My daughter's coming up West Palm Beach to go to the beach here. And I'm going to join them for a weekend. Like that.
That'll be nice. That'll be fun up there.
West Palm Beach, you know. I've been in my next son.
Cool. Very cool.
I'm like, what's wrong? I do too.
Nice.
Great job. Has that person gotten back to you? The
Right
artist?
line. I've been trained,
Maybe.
I've been doing French service.
Oh, yeah. That's
Went to
tomorrow,
Miami,
and then
went
I'm
to-
going to show you what she
went
was
all
doing.
the way Orlando.
Yeah, I got off the
No,
hour.
one of the things I really, one of the things I like about it was, that you don't even know your influence.
Yeah.
Like it's not, like some parts of Florida, it's kind of kicky.
Yeah.
But then, it's like if you're in Miami or if you're in West Palm, you can tell, like, Tampa.
That'll be
Well, Tampa's always been my favorite. area, so it's all kind of staples of Florida. I'll tell you what. Down south.
Director Adams and Director Leggett, I'm starting the breakout room
Yeah.
for you all to join, okay? In just a bit.
Man. Okay.
My uncle was living this one.
Get some look.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Right.
What's your baby girl doing these days?
China, right? No, Mark is graduating. Mark graduated, right? She's in her second year doing something.
No, 2 years. This year's a second year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's got 18, but she's got a year and a semester at Georgia Southern. And so she's in her second semester of sophomore year. She just turned 18, is that?
No. What's your major?
History.
Okay.
She wants to be a museum curator.
That's wonderful.
Beverly,
Yes,
you got hot sauce.
no, ma'am.
You gotta, my boys, if I can, I gave them some noodles, they want the rice noodles. Come on, now, Rob, where's my hot sauce? I never heard
Okay, Chairman, we're back in open session.
Welcome everybody back. We need, would like to everybody to know there was no votes taken, no action taken in executive session. Moving down to old and new business. Do we have any old and new business? No. At this point, I thank everybody for attending today's meeting. I thank our staff and all board members and our audience. At this time, I'd like to adjourn this meeting.